You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling an Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode down in Midtown today. If you're watching the video, we've got some epic cars in the background. That might just be my personal opinion because I'm a huge Porsche fan. But Brett and Jess are on the podcast, owners of Midtown Autohaus. I'll put the links to the Instagram so you can follow that, and the website as well, so you can check that out down below in the description. But guys, thanks so much for taking the time out to share some stories.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. We're going to talk about cars today, so for people listening, if you want to check out now, feel free. But we will talk about Oklahoma a little bit, but as people listening might know, I absolutely love cars, and we connected through our mutual passion for Porsches and stuff like that. But before we get into the car stuff and the facility you guys have here, give the listeners a little bit of context. I guess, where were you born and raised, and then where did you meet?
You go first.
Sure. I was born in Kansas and ended up in Texas for the end of high school. So I went down to Texas A&M and studied accounting and finance there, and that is where we met.
I grew up in Duncan, did undergrad at Oklahoma State, and went to medical school at Texas A&M. We met there. Ended up in Dallas for my residency and for her accounting firm. We were there for 5 years and went out to Nashville for a year, and then came back to Oklahoma. We always kind of knew Oklahoma was the final plan.
But not Duncan?
Not Duncan. Ironically, my group does have the radiology contract in Duncan, and so periodically I'll go down there, not much anymore, but we have a partner that lives there. And it's always weird going back and doing procedures on like your elementary school teacher and stuff like that. So,
I'm sure that's you're like, oh, Mrs., good to see you again.
Yes, it's been a few years.
Sorry, I was a pain in the backside in class.
Exactly.
Right? What is your medical profession?
I am a musculoskeletal or orthopedic radiologist. So, look at MRIs and CTs of joints and spines, and then stick needles in those spots.
A lot of fun, man.
Yeah, good times.
Good times. So you guys meet at Texas A&M, takes you to Dallas. Everything's happening in Dallas, and it's one of the reasons that it's a great city to visit. Food, cars, everything. I still haven't made it down to the Dallas Cars and Coffee yet, but I want to, because I just keep seeing pictures of Chirons and stuff like that rolling around. I'm like, one day. But like I said, you finally come back to Oklahoma. Does your kind of shared passion for cars start before that, or does it start, like when you're in Dallas?
We should have your mom here. It started when he was like 3.
Yeah, my mom actually just sent us a couple weeks ago, before we even talked about this. She was getting sentimental and going through the baby book and looking at it, and at 1 to 2 years age, it said cars with an exclamation point. And so every time we'd go to the store, it was getting a new Hot Wheels and building garages out of Legos and bristle blocks and lining all the cars up. And so it started really early. Growing up in Duncan, the idea of Porsches and European cars and stuff was such a far off type of automobile. It was much more muscle cars or trucks. My dad never had like super fancy cars, but they were always just really nice and classy. He had a third generation Oldsmobile 442, an El Camino, mid 80s, two-tone black and red, two-door Bronco, and so stuff like that, just always real cool things. And so I always really gravitated towards cars. And when we were in Dallas, we were much more into kind of the off-roading stuff, did a lot of things with the Land Rover Club.
Because we had Hill Country.
Yeah, we had Hill Country. We'd go down there. We one year went out to the National Land Rover Rally in Moab, and that was a really fun time. Broke down in the middle of a trail. Had to figure out how to get the car back to Texas. It was kind of a fun, exciting deal. We moved back here, and when I first started, I was commuting a lot to Duncan and Lawton specifically. And at that time, I was driving a Jeep Wrangler that was lifted on 35-inch mud terrain tires.
Because it off-roaded in Tennessee.
And so when we moved back here, doing that, almost 200-mile round trip in this Jeep was miserable. And I was like, I got to get something different.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I knew there was Howlett was close by, and I'd always thought autocrossing would be fun. And so I started looking at little sports cars, kind of with the full gamut, looking at Miatas. The Subaru BRZ had just come out. And then started looking at Porsches, and it's like it always seemed just impossible, but found a used 911, and that's really what kind of got the...
Well, let's be real. It starts out, hey, Jess, I can buy this Porsche Boxster at this price. And okay. But then once I add this and this and this, I might as well get a 911. And then it's like, this is just, as I'm sure any car person would know, it's just the natural progression.
Yeah, for just this little bit more.
While we're here, we're just going to go ahead and do this.
At least he laid it out for you, right? Some husbands would have just been like, honey, I'm buying a new car.
No, I got to say, it's just a nice head buddy for a bit.
Good conversation. So that was it. We got a used 2012 911 C2 Carreras, the first gen 991, just base, and started autocrossing a lot with the local PCA club. Did a lot of events and drives with them, and then it just snowballed from there to doing tons of track days to having a track car stored in Texas where we'd go down there, or trailing cars out to Road to Land and such. So
it's gone from just being like that dream as a kid to just being gone through the passion phase to being an obsession, right?
It got to the point that where it was really, it kind of took over life as far as what we were doing. All of our social things were kind of centered around car stuff, car people. We have a group of friends that meets together in the Smoky Mountains every year in May, and we end up seeing these people at other different events throughout the years and meet up with them. And so it's been a really fun deal, and we didn't necessarily think that this, just my kind of passion for cars and hobby, would lead to what has led to as far as...
Well, and I want to say too, yes, he's very much into the car and the performance. I am okay with this hobby because we do travel with it, and I get to visit different cultures and meet people. And the thing I love about cars, they're nice to drive, I suppose, but they bring people together that may not have met. And so we've met some very interesting people.
That's what the car world does. You're totally right.
Yeah.
I was about to say the same thing. It's great that, and you have people that also all walks of life, right? All journeys. They may be buying that first car, or they may have, 50 in their collection, but the one they love or the one that they want is the one that you have that they haven't bought yet, right? I think it just brings you all together, and it's, it may seem kind of cult-ish, right? And super kind of closed off, but some of my, same thing you guys said, some of my best friends have come from the car world. People I just met standing in front of a car, Cars and Coffee or whatever it is, in the freezing cold. But it's a beautiful thing, and my wife doesn't listen to the podcast, but that's one thing that, whenever it is that I get mine, I keep telling her, we're going to travel, we're going to hit the road, and you're actually going to enjoy it, because we're going to, go to coffee or wherever it is, but it might take us an hour and 30 minutes to get to coffee, but it'd be worth it.
Yeah.
The long way around.
Because one of the trips that we're planning here in the future, it's in Hill Country, and I enjoy picking out the places we're going to eat and see and stuff, and he honestly doesn't even care about that so long as he gets to do his rides, and so it works. It works,
yeah. So this happens, then you dive in deep, and you're going to all the events, you're meeting all these people. Go back to a little bit why the Porsche stuff, right? Because growing up, you said it was this kind of trucks and muscle cars in Duncan, and is there a moment or a person that was just try, see if you can get into one of these, or drive mine, or whatever it is?
The program director for my residency, he was super into cars, and he would always be talking about all these crazy things I'd never heard of.
Right.
And so we actually, for my final kind of checkout of residency, instead of going to his office to have the formal discussion, we actually went to the parking garage and had it in his, he had just gotten a new Panamera when they had come out. And so it was seeing that, talking about that, and for his we had to get him a gift for like our finishing residency, like a deal for the program director. And so me and a buddy of mine, we went to Park Place, Porsche, and went in there to try to find some little gift for him. And we felt like such idiots walking in there, like, are they going to kick us out? Like, we do not belong in this
Which
place.
is not a reflection of them.
No.
They're not that way.
But it's that feeling when you're like,
Yes.
it's like going to the gym for the first time, and it's like, this is such an uncomfortable place for me. I don't know what I'm
It's
doing
like,
right
this
now.
is like so exotic, so
Yeah.
crazy. And we walked in there, and everyone was just so nice. We ended up hanging out in there for an hour, got him a set of cufflinks, and now every time we're in Dallas, we go by
Pop
Park
in.
Place, have some coffee, and talk. And so those little things just kind of added up. And then when we were needing to get a car to drive for work, that was what kind of like pushed it over the edge to getting into the Porsche deal, and really seeing what the local War Bonnet Porsche Club of America was doing here. The autocross stuff, they had access to the sheriff's training track, and so every month going out there. And so I started doing that for like a year. Kept telling my dad, "Hey, you got to come up from Duncan, come drive my car." And so finally, after a year of it, he came up there on a Saturday, drove the car, and on Thursday he had a car in his driveway. So for several years he was driving up from Duncan every month, and we started doing all these track things together. So it ended up becoming
That's
a
really
family deal.
special. That's really cool to do that with Dad. Like, just to, I mean, it took you a year to convince him, right? But that is special to have that. Like, for me, it's golf, right? Now, you know, when I play golf with my dad, it's really cool, and I have all these memories from growing up playing golf. But, you know, once you get older, you kind of like, you know, you kind of just grow apart, right? But to continue having some, you know, a love for something, and the older you get, you know, you cherish those moments more. When you're a kid, you're just your dad, isn't it? But the older, you know, more wiser, I guess, we get, we realize that, you know, everyone's clock is running out. So that must be really special. That makes sense with the Porsche thing. So you're doing all these events, and the men that we are, right, we're always looking for what's next. So where do we go from that first Porsche that you'd bought, that you'd modded to go racing?
Went down multiple kind of 911 Carreras, got really into the track stuff, got a 981 Cayman GT4. That was what really pushed it over the edge as far as going to the track all the time. And then went to a 996 Cup car. That was really nice. We'd have it stored at Eagles Canyon track. It's down kind of between Decatur and Denton. We'd go down there most weekends, and it's just so nice to just pull up there, pull the car out, and go do the laps.
What about the RS? I thought that was before the Cup.
Yeah, we had the GT4, and then ended up getting a GT3 RS 991.2.
Nice.
Bright lizard green.
Awesome.
I mean,
Yeah.
big old surfboard.
As obnoxious
wing on
as
the-
you can get, but
Exactly.
it's the best
It was
thing
a
ever.
fight when he
Yeah.
came home and told me he got the allocation.
Yeah, it was.
I didn't think he'd actually get the allocation. And
Right.
He was so excited, and it was bad timing for me.
Yeah, she was not too enthused about it. Luckily, there was 3 to 4 month period before it actually would
Right.
come
I
in.
came around and
She
it's
came around.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we said, we're doing this. Never gotten a car this nice and exciting. We're gonna, get a wild color. And you got it here. It's like, I absolutely love it. And then kind of realized, like, I kind of look like a prick driving to the hospital in this.
Brett, some people might do that. Don't.
We know we have a mutual friend who does that, but his is black.
His is black. His blends in.
And he does drive it like a lunatic
Yes,
as well.
he drives
Yeah.
like a lunatic.
Yeah.
And so it was awesome. And then ended up meeting another car guy here in town that we've become really good friends. And he had a GT3 Touring he had just taken delivery of. And one night I was like, hey, you ought to drive it. And so I drove it for about 20, 30 minutes. And then it came home. I was like, okay.
It's my nightmare when he drives
Yeah.
a car. It's like, oh my god.
And a friend says, hey, you got to try this out. He's
Yeah,
like,
try it. And then
just giving him the eyes as he walks out. Like,
it
don't
ended
even
up
think
being a
about it.
great thing.
Yeah, it was like personality-wise, like a beige colored car without a wing fits me a little bit better.
Right.
So we sold that, got the Touring, and that's been our favorite modern 911 by far.
Right, because the good thing about the Touring is to non-car people, it just looks like a 911, right?
Mm-hmm.
To us, it's not, obviously, because we can see different fenders, the wheels, whatever it is, tailpipes, everything. but the difference between a normal person looking at an RS to a normal person looking at a Touring, you're much less likely of your car to get keyed or spat at when you pull up at a stoplight, right? Yeah. In your new one, rather than the lime green, big wing.
Yeah, less gas station conversations.
Definitely, which is a plus.
Yeah.
I love talking, but small talk sometimes, when you have a nice car and you have that conversation once, you've had it a million times, right? The only good thing that comes from that is kids seeing it. You know, that passion that we had when we were once. If the kid sees it, open it up, sit in the car, start it up, amazing. But if a 50-year-old man comes over and he's like, tell me about your Porsche, and you're like, I'm kind of in a rush. Sorry.
Yeah, we had one of them back.
We've all been there.
Back in Duncan one time, we were at a gas station and had a guy come up to me. We were talking about the car, and he's like, "Did you get that up at the Ford dealership up the road?" Like,
yes.
Yeah, got it up there.
Yeah, traded in my Mustang for it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Didn't want to, but I did. You know. So your friend says, "Hey, drive this Touring," and then that's it, right? You try and get one, and then you have the allocation. But I know the story. People listening don't. So it was a special. Hey, can we go all the way to Europe to collect this thing in the factory?
Yeah,
right?
we'd always wanted to do that whole thing of European delivery. I'd seen other people that had done it, gone over, and whether it was a BMW, Mercedes, Porsche, pick it up and drive it around. Another thing that just seemed like one of those kind of dream things. Like I couldn't imagine ever doing that. And when we got that allocation, we talked to our sales advisor, we've become really good friends with, and asked him about it. I was like, yeah, we can get you to do European delivery. And so Jessica was super stoked about it.
Oh, yeah. And food, coffee, pizza, everything. And
I mean, it was great. We were already planning to be in Paris because I found really cheap tickets on Google Flights or whatever 6 months previously, and it was over his birthday as well. And so we're like, well, we only have a week there, but heck, once we get to Paris, we'll just hop on over and, And we had already been to Stuttgart before and done a tour and stuff, so we kind of knew what that was like. But man, delivery, you just treated so well, and it's just delicious. Everything is just run so perfectly. And we hired because we don't know roads there, and we wouldn't even know how to go about finding good driving roads. So we hired a company there. Is it
Ultimate Drives,
which their bread and butter is really renting their cars and setting up drives. But we paid them to make us an itinerary, and it's just beautiful drives, stay at this hotel, dinner reservations, and you can kind of tweak it and stuff, and mind blown.
Perfect.
It was
made you a lot happier, right?
Oh my gosh.
It's so excited.
Was great. And he set up 2 GPSs, so if one breaks down, we still have the other one. We have a binder with printout, and he's on WhatsApp with us because we went from Germany to Switzerland to Italy and back, and we barely know a little bit of Spanish, and I have all my books for language, but thank goodness we had him during the blizzard.
So he met us in Germany at the factory, plugged in the GPSs, you just hit start, and then we go drive each day to our spot. It was just phenomenal how easy it was.
Beautiful.
We made it down to Lake Como, I believe, and then on the way back, I forgot which pass or which tunnel it was.
Alps.
Yeah, the specific tunnel. But anyway, the road shut down. It was snowing so much, and we were stuck in the car for about 3 hours, just sitting there with, feet and feet of snow piling up. And we were constantly messaging with him, trying to figure out what was going on. The roads were so bad on the other side of the tunnel, and they had to get those all cleared so that they could actually let people in the tunnel, because they didn't want everyone stuck in the tunnel and all the exhaust building up.
We didn't
it was a wild...
great story coming from it. You remember it forever.
Yeah, it was awesome. The car didn't go off the road, so it was fun.
Driving around on were they Cup 2s or just they're not normal?
Thank goodness.
We were kind of on shoulder season, and so we had been debating on picking up the car in Germany and then driving it back to France. But like, well, since it is shoulder season, we want to go in the Alps. They give you the option of getting a set of winter tire and wheels.
Yeah.
And so we did that.
Great
so
option.
luckily we're not on cut twos, because that would have been horrendous.
Yeah, when you're winding down those passes, up and down, switchbacks or whatever, it is beautiful, but if you're not paying attention, it is extremely dangerous. And you don't want to be like that scene in the original Italian Job where the guy just disappears over the side. That must have been so cool, though, to do that, to take, to have the car, and the location, and have this, this ultimate drive service, which it's a no-brainer if you're going that far. The last thing you want to be doing is rolling out the factory and you turning to Jess saying, okay, where am I going, left or right? And looking at this map, like,
You just enjoy it.
And really can't recommend them enough.
Yeah.
Like, it was really not that expensive a deal of the way they had it set up. And like, we got to go on amazing roads. We've got to tell them kind of what we want to spend on a hotel, what kind of food we wanted, and they were just all set up and reserved. And so all places had like good places to park the car, so there was not anything to worry about.
That's a nice thing too.
Yeah. No bad roads and scraping the front of the car and all that stuff. That's awesome. For people listening, that's like, just going to Europe is a dream, right? But going to pick up a car, that's super important to you, and just a goal or a dream or whatever, and then get into the drive, like, that's just, the whole experience is really special.
I can't recommend it highly enough. If anyone gets an allocation for,
and they
Porsche,
open it up again.
Yeah, right now, it's closed with all the COVID stuff. But supposedly it's opened up in the summer. But yeah, if you can get an allocation, definitely do it.
It doesn't cost any extra, so you might as well.
So during this whole time, when obviously you're back in Oklahoma, when do you have this building? Did you just have it already, or like, how does this come about?
You want to?
Sure. So we had been thinking about a storage facility for a bit. We had seen kind of car communities and since we travel around the U.S. and stuff, and we see other car communities, and there's places to hang out and have cars and be out of the elements, because cars and coffee is sometimes too hot, too cold, all of that. So we have been thinking about it. We have some real estate friends, and they knew we were looking, and at the time that we really started looking is when cannabis opened up here, and so a lot of the warehouses were taken for that, and we were just like, so we were looking for, I think, 2 years before this one came up, and this one was better than, in some ways, than any of them that we had looked at before, because it's 600 feet from our house.
Perfect.
So, the day it came on the market, we made an offer and made a deal, and it was pretty much dilapidated, though. Like, the main things that are still here is the concrete and the walls.
It needed a lot of work. The roof and the ceiling situation was horrific. That was the biggest adventure with it, but it was kind of like why you're in here type of a deal.
Right.
Going through. We had a really phenomenal team we used Brian Fitzsimmons architecture firm. We're good friends with them, and one of the guys, Jason Leach, in the firm, we've done a lot of car stuff together, and they've done parking garages, so he kind of got the whole ethos of it really well, and so him and Brian did a phenomenal job on the design. And then Drew Upchurch with Modus Construction, the build out just went extremely smooth. Like, it was really great. So,
But if you're asking about timeline, we picked this up in 2019. Is that right?
So.
And then we closed on this early 2020 before everything went.
So you were still actively looking while you picked this up then? It was the idea was already.
Years,
And you guys have been around the country to all these places, and then I guess seen what you'd like from places and what you disliked, and then kind of just curated this together. And it's a phenomenal space, and for people to come down to hang out, have a coffee, watch the F1, try not to scream at the TV. If any, we'll leave it at that, because if anyone knows what happened in the F1 last year, they'll think the same thing. It's just a cool place to hang out. You work here, you people come and go. Like, it doesn't just feel like a garage, does it? Right? It's a lot more than that.
We like to believe that. Well, I like to believe that the members, once you sign up, you have access on your phone. You have security access. You can come and go whenever you like. And that's what I do like about our facility, other than I mean, some, they have them up on lifts and someone's got to be there to come at certain hours, but really you can come get your car whenever, switch it out with another one. And I mean, that's part of when you fill out the packet, go through everything and make sure that's.
And as far as like community, I mean, the community around the country, especially in the Porsche world, is pretty well known for being pretty welcoming and great. But the car community here surprises people because they think, oh, Oklahoma City, you guys can't have that many cars. You show up to Cars and Coffee, you show up here and you're like, whoa, hang on a second. Like, there's a lot more. It's so underrated.
I mean, that was a big thing for us. Like, it's awesome going to Cars and Coffee, but it's so overwhelming at this point. I mean, it is
thousands of people.
Massive. If you don't get out there at 6 in the morning, you're not getting a space. And so we've really enjoyed having kind of these, I don't say curated, but somewhat organized Cars and Coffee events where, kind of friends of friends come over. We have out some donuts and coffee and, get to kick the tires on the cars, watch an F1 race, watch a football game. It's been a really great way to meet people. We've had people drive down from Tulsa, people come up from Ardmore, and just met a lot of really cool people. And so our goal with this is not necessarily to like grow and pack it full of cars and stuff. It's to really kind of grow organically. The social aspect of it. So we really want people parking here that we want to hang out with. At the end of the day, that's what we want to, be sitting here, having a drink together and talking about car stuff and life stuff. So.
Right. Well, and the good thing about this building is that regardless if it wasn't a storage facility, where you're located is a great investment anyway. So while you have this building, why not use it for something you guys want to do rather than it just being empty storage or whatever,
And that was a big thing that we felt with the real estate aspect of it and the location that, we didn't have to have this being a super big, financial making deal. The long-term real estate play makes more sense, so we can just kind of have fun with it and let it grow kind of on its own, not do any advertising. Just kind of meet people and see if they want to park their car here.
Definitely. And no, it's right. Like it's, meeting people organically and you're right with the coffee and cars thing. It is great to see that many people out there, but it is extremely overwhelming. And it's great that we have that community here, but it's nice to have your own little tucked away, like I said, friends of friends, you don't have any black sheep showing up, right? Ruining something, or some guy doing donuts or taking out the crowd. Like you can control the environment. Yeah,
it's very controlled. Everyone's good people. You don't have to worry about anyone doing anything bad. The spectrum of cars is kind of like Cars and Coffee. I mean, you have a couple guys show up in supercars. You got some guys in Ford trucks, Mustangs. I mean, it's a little bit of everything. It's not just all Porsche guys. And so we recently one of our clients parked a 99 Ford Mustang Saline S281 Speedster. That's like all white wheels. I mean, just harkens back to late 90s and stuff, and just such a unique, cool car that you don't see those every day. And
real Miami car, right?
Vanilla Ice for sure.
That's what he calls it.
That's exactly what that's the first I thought of. Miami Vice. Like the first day I was like, that sounds like a Miami car for sure. If you're this, our car guys and girls were all the same. Mind's always turning. What's next? What do I want to do? What projects can I do? When you have a car that we have behind you that's perfect, that you don't need to do anything to, us as just human beings, we want to do something and build something, right? Mind's always turning. So what is the build at the moment? Is there one? Is there two? Is there one that you're keeping from Jess?
There's definitely not, because I hold the pocketbook.
Oh, there we go.
So
she's the accountant, so everything has to go through.
So other than having, a modern, perfect car that you can drive every day, what's in the project book at the moment?
I keep joking that the cars keep getting older, smellier, leakier, and slower. We're really enjoying the air-cooled Porsches. We last spring found a barn find 1962 356B coupe down in Ardmore, actually, and it is at Works 11 in Temple, Texas. It's a really awesome air-cooled shop that does a lot of outlaw builds, and so it is down there. It's just gotten stripped, getting all the metal work done, and that's really the thing we're kind of most excited about, seeing how far to take that in terms of suspension, engine, everything. But with all these cars, I mean, the main goal for us is to go drive, go meet people, go do stuff with like. There's no garage queens, just park it and look at it. Like, we want it to be pretty, but it's going to get patinted, it's going to get dented and scratched, unfortunately, but we're going to go drive it. And so having a car of that aesthetic and of that feeling and that size that we can take up to Northwest Arkansas, that we can take down to Hill Country, that's really the goal with that one. We also, a year or two ago, picked up a 87 911 G50 coupe car that looks like someone took a Brillo pad and waxed it pretty much. I mean, the paint on it is awful, but it's had the engines been rebuilt up to 3.4 and drives phenomenal. But that's going to be going out to a guy named Lee Keene out in Atlanta, a professional racer, and who does these car builds with that generations of 911s that does the Lee Keene Safari cars. So that one's going to be a wild car.
I'm very jealous of Lee Keene, actually, because he races cup cars, right? And he bought last year. I grew up in Wales, and I love World Rally Championship. I've always loved WRC cars, and he bought a Works Pro Drive Subaru. And he hasn't posted much about it. He took it to like a Subaru meet in Atlanta, and he told a funny story about when it showed up off the plane. He's like got to drive it off this pallet, and he's got this kind of like the binder that you would give him. He's just got this booklet of like, how do I start this thing? Because you'll just turn it on. He's like, I gotta flick all these switches. But yeah, for people listening, Lee Keene's got a great job and builds off-road 911s that have Ford Raptor tires on them, just to give people context.
It's wild.
It's awesome.
He's got a great collection of cars and super nice guy, great person too. So
yeah, that's another one of example of just the connections you've had, right? You meet these people, and they just in the car community, people probably look at Lee, and I mean, his new 992 GT3 is a very punchy spec.
Yeah,
but seeing pictures of it, it looks amazing.
It is fun.
People see these guys on Instagram, but when you meet them in person, right, it's like meeting, other famous people or whatever. They're just normal human beings. They just like to talk cars.
Well, we had met him several years ago at an event that we would go out to. It was called the GT Smokies. All a group of Porsche guys have GT cars, and met him out there. Didn't know that he was who he was. Like that he was the racer, and so we talked to him several times, and then figured out, oh, that's the guy who makes these cars, and then we kind of. Yeah. It's funny how he's just a nice guy. That's
going to be fun, because that's going to kind of marry your off-roading days from Dallas to like your Porsche days now, right?
That's like, Safari car.
This is going to be so much fun.
That's kind of the goal of it.
Yeah. And Oklahoma roads are going to be, this thing's going to be bulletproof against Oklahoma roads.
That's the thing, yeah.
You don't have to worry about potholes at Oklahoma at that thing. That's going to be really cool. What's the kind of finish date on that? Do you know when it's going to be done?
No, so that car is still here. It hasn't gotten shipped out to Atlanta yet, so that will probably be a couple years away. We're hoping that the 356 maybe a year and a half, but as with everything, it always takes longer.
With the kind of modern, the new GT3 coming out last year, and pictures of the RS looks more like a cup car every day. Actually looks like a Batmobile. I saw the press thing today. I was like, that looks insane. What are your thoughts on your touring against the new touring?
Well, we've thought about that and trying to get a new one, and the process on getting allocations, getting cars right now is so difficult. After kind of the experiences we've had in this, did European delivery, we've driven it all through Colorado and Arkansas and Texas and the Smoky Mountains and all these places. Like this one, I think is going to be a forever car.
It's got a sentimental value to it.
And so we always say, I think this one is going to be
everything's for sale for the right price, but I can't imagine. If someone has a crazy offer, bring it, but it needs to be crazy.
It's which they are going for crazy money at the moment.
It is wild.
It's nuts.
We would really. There's a couple cars that we're really excited about. The new 992 Sport Classic. The rumors on that car being a turbocharged car, essentially a 992 turbo, but with a manual, rear wheel drive, ducktail. I mean, like that's just like harkens at all the like the classic 911.
In the similar color they come out in too, right? They come out in similar.
If it came out in that kind of like gray.
Yeah.
So that would be kind of what we'd be most interested in if we get an allocation for, a cool 992. I mean, we'd take it, be able to go to European delivery, especially. And these cars are just so capable now.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, even this one, with no lift shift in it and auto rev match and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes you look at like such a great driver, even if you're not. But yeah, so still excited about the future of what's going on in the Porsche world.
Tell me about our first electric experience.
Yeah, so we have kind of we looked at Teslas a long time ago, but didn't really go that far. Actually, when we were looking for that original 911s, the range on it to go down to Lawton and back for work was not that great at that time. And they just come out. So
Lawton's your gauge.
Yeah, that was the gauge. So we finally drove a Taycan last week, and we're uber impressed with it. I mean, it was.
What is it? The one I want, that wagon?
Yeah,
the Cross Turismo is
yes, I want
beautiful
that.
car.
But I don't see us getting an allocation for it.
Yeah, I mean, it was just the technology in them, the performance. I mean, it was it definitely felt a little heavy, but it felt like a 911. The steering was amazing. You could literally walk into it, and it just felt like Porsche, all the electronics and everything. So it was a phenomenal car. So. Also, one thing that was interesting, when we were in Europe, when we were doing the European delivery, when we picked up our car, Porsche just released the Cayenne Coupe.
Okay.
They hadn't actually, it had just been announced, and so they had one fresh off the assembly line. And so they're made in Leipzig, so this was in Stuttgart. So they brought one there, and they had all the employees from the Stuttgart factory coming out and looking at it. And it was so cool seeing these workers who like see these cars every day and like who are so numb to this stuff and so excited about this car, and like the passion of the German people, the engineering, the punctuality. I mean, like it's
it's very German.
It's so funny though, isn't it? Because they are like the best at it, right? Everything's done perfectly right, and then you get to the highway and he just says, we got some sections where you can like drive as fast as you want. It's entirely it's great. It's kind of like an Italian had a German mother and an Italian, someone had a German mum and an Italian dad. It was just like, we can do good stuff and we're gonna do lunatic stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
It's brilliant analogy, And then obviously you got the Nürburgring, which is, just a monster in its own. So
that's on the bucket list. Yeah.
So trips this year, then obviously things are starting to open up a bit more. You're used to traveling now, so you kind of know things to go to, and not everything you go to now is a new experience. It's just we're meeting up with old friends, or we're doing this and that. What's on the schedule list this year?
Let's go chronologically. I'd say Texas.
Yeah, so we're going down the Texas Hill Country Rally down in South Texas and through Hill Country. I'm super excited about that. It's all air-cooled 911s or air-cooled Porsches. And then in
New York.
We've got a 1994 Range Rover just got finished being refurbished in Spain. And is on a boat, so it's going to be in Brooklyn in probably 3 weeks or so. So sometime this spring, we'll fly up to Brooklyn and drive that around the Northeast for a little bit.
Okay, you're not driving it back, Joe.
No.
I was going to say, that's like torture.
It's a Rover at the end of the day, so we're just hoping it makes it back to Brooklyn.
Well, we might drop it off somewhere else and let it get shipped back.
Yeah.
But
so we're excited about that. It's real kind of retro. It's a pastel green with tan leather interior.
So we might as well say that's Stray Dog.
Yes, that's Stray Dog Classics. Doing that. We'll do GT Smokies in May. Hopefully do a European delivery on a new car at some point this year, if that's an option. And then we have a real, like when we're just needing a weekend away, we've got a real quick run we do to Northwest Arkansas. Just take off Friday morning at 8, go out east on I-40, and go up to a little town called Ork. Arkansas has this awesome little grill restaurant place. Have lunch there, drive the pig trail up into Bentonville, stay the night there, and then do a lot of really good drives on Saturday,
Yeah.
and then come back on Sunday.
Is that kind of like the closest thing, being centrally located in Oklahoma City? That's like the closest. Hey, this is an easy trip away back and down and back in one weekend.
That's what we've found has been our favorite.
That brings in everything. So you guys, you can both go, is what I'm saying. It's not just like let's go.
A great, nice experience. Orc is fun, and there's some really good drives.
Yeah, and Bentonville has amazing museums with the crystal bridges there. The
mountain biking, if you want to do that.
Yeah, world class mountain biking. The food scene, the pub scene is really, really good. So it kind of ticks all those little boxes, and it's only a 3-day weekend trip. So we'd love that.
That's really cool.
I mean, maybe after Hill Country, we'll have a trip there, and then Colorado, we have a pretty good run up there as well. So
the hard part's just getting there, isn't it? That's the miserable part, is getting there. Once you get there, it's great. Yeah, it's just like that 10 hours.
At least a few hours of boring before you get,
Yeah, driving down I-40 to Amarillo is not fun.
No, not so much.
I mean, all the way to Albuquerque really is terrible. So, But, all right, last question. This has been awesome, and I can't wait to share these stories to our listeners. But last questions, and you can both answer this. So 5-car garage, which for me changes almost every day, and I'm sure it does for you guys too. But as of now, what would be your 5-car garage?
Anything
I don't have 5 cars because, to be honest, I like driving the same car all the time. I don't like to switch it out. I don't like to. I just like my car. I currently drive a Volkswagen Golf R, and I love it. It's my little go-kart, 6-speed. It can do everything, low maintenance, boom. I have now considered, Brett has talked about trading it in for another Porsche, something. I used to have a Cayenne, which I did like, a diesel. But I think the Cross Turismo, but I only need one, and all I need is my attached garage parking spot, Brett.
That's a must.
That is also why we did this.
Right.
If I have to start fighting for my garage spot, there's a problem.
Yeah, that's a must.
Okay, now you can fill up the rest of it.
So I think, an everyday driver and probably in the touring. Just love that. Kind of staying in the Porsche world, the top 2 would be like a 72 Carrera RS, like original, and then a 997 GT3 RS 4.0, like the unicorn of the GT cars. Probably some old Bronco or old Range Rover, something to kind of itch the off-roading aspect, something to kind of lumber around in, and then some 80s or 90s supercar, or like a 959, a Testarossa, or a Countach, just something
for the poster that was on the poster car. That's awesome. I love the stories. I can't thank you guys enough for taking some time out to share these awesome stories, and love the space, and just I love following you. I love seeing the events that you're going to do this year. We've talked about, and the events you've already had, and the drives and everything. It's really cool to build your own kind of community around a passion, or an obsession, whichever way you want to look at it, right? But the good thing is it's something that you can do together. Brett, if you want to go out and drive with you guys for the weekend, you can, but also you've got couples drives and events and stuff that you can all go to, and it's not just like, me, for example, my wife tries to play golf, but it's not really her scene. So she'd rather stay at home. So it's really cool for you guys to do that together. And for people listening, if you have a car or whatever it is, or just want to get involved, I'll post a link to the Instagram. You guys can check that out and reach out to these guys and hopefully become part of the family. It depends if you pass the test or not. So if you like art, music, and cars, you'll probably fit in.
Yeah.
So thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it. And for you guys listening, we'll catch you next episode. Cheers. This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.